Good evening, welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing, where we'll be looking at the action at Newmarket and a race at Haydock and Ripon respectively. Big week finished there of Scottish racing, of course, with the Ergo Cup meeting coming to its climax last Saturday, and then we had a two-day meeting at Hamilton, and this week we also seen that Perth, of course, wrapped up its season. A very good season there for Perth. Gordon Elliott dominant once again, and as he was in the last day of action there. We also seen Kelso start its season last week, last Wednesday in fact, and they'll be beginning their winter campaign over the jumps. In terms of, there's more Scottish racing to come up, of course. Sunday there's a meeting at Musselburgh, and next Tuesday there's another flat meeting at Ayr to contend with. But looking back on that Gold Cup Festival, the Western meeting, another successful meeting after what happened last year. It was testing conditions, it was, but I think the track held up really well. So credit to Graham and all the team there at Ayr for how well the track seemed to ride. And of course we've seen a thrilling finish to the Ergo Cup with Son of Rest, a well fancied horse coming into this race. I must admit, I watched the horse, it caught the eye straight away, I have to say. Was travelling like a dream, and came to win the race. I thought he was going to win it by a distance, to be honest, but Baron Bolt came out the pack, chased him down, and I thought was actually going to get up and win it, but Son of Rest responded well to the challenge, and of course it finished a dead heat, which was pretty sensational. But a cracking race. It'll be interesting to see how Son of Rest goes on from that, and if Baron Bolt can take a lot out of that, we'll see over the coming months if we get to see them again. And of course, I think Son of Rest will be another good horse to keep an eye out on next season. Does definitely need cutting the ground to be shown at best effect. I was at Hamilton as well on Sunday, had a great day there, and with some good racing there as well on Sunday and Monday. And I was quite impressed by the winner East on the Franco horse on Monday, and it'll be interesting to see how that horse is campaigned for the remainder of its 2-year-old season. Certainly will look as some of the Franco horses do come on a bit more as it ages, but I was quite taken by that effort there. So Hamilton's now finished for the season. A good season, I would say, for Hamilton and the track, and we'll look forward to seeing them back. It's a bit of a long layoff now for them. They're not back until the first Sunday in May of 2019, of course. Anyway, lots to look forward to. This we're getting now into the time where a lot of the big 2-year-old races really come to the fore, and that certainly is something tomorrow at Newmarket, of course. And looking at Newmarket, first of all, the Royal Lodge, which kicks off the race card at headquarters tomorrow at 1:50. Now, Beatboxer is well fancied, this John Gosden horse, and is very much the favourite in this race. But I actually kind of like the Tom Dascombe horse, Arthur Kitt, which won the Chesham pretty impressively at Royal Ascot. Now, followed that up and raced against Too Darn Hot, this very impressive horse last time out, but Arthur Kitt pulled well clear of the remainder. So if you really go and think Too Darn Hot is a real special horse, which a lot of people do believe, then I think Arthur Kitt could lay down a challenge here to Beatboxer, and I'm going to sway with the Kingston Dascombe combination here. And that one, it's a Camelot colt, and I really think it has a real chance here in this race. So I'm going to back with Arthur Kitt in the 1:50, the Royal Lodge. The next race I'll look at is a Middle Park, the 3 o'clock race at Newmarket. There's a hot favourite in this, an odds-on favourite, But second in the market, just like with the looking at the Royal Lodge, I'm going to take on the well fancied favourite in this as well, with Jash, this Simon Christopher horse. I was really taken with its performance at Salisbury. You know, yet to see what it's beat there, but this horse could really be something special. This is the race to find out. And I think they think really highly of this horse to stick it in the Middle Park, Group 1. So yeah, I'm going to back Jash in this one. Just off the back, you know, he was well fancied at Salisbury last time out and delivered, and will only progress, you would assume, from that race. And I think it has a hell of a chance there in the Middle Park. Now, looking at the big race of the day in terms of big fields and the start of what we sometimes regard as the autumn double at Newmarket with the Cambridgeshire and then the Cesarovic in a few weeks' time. This is the Cambridgeshire, of course, the 340. Big field handicap, lots of money now up for grabs in these big handicaps, of course. And Scotland has two representatives in this. Keith Douglas has sent down What's the Story and Euro Nightmare. Euro Nightmare won a listed race earlier in the season at Ayr and hasn't disgraced himself in some of the group races that it's ran in. So it's stepping back into handicap company, but I still think this is a big challenge for it. Same can be said for What's the Story. Could give you a good run for money, but I'm not going to side with him in this race. The horse that I like, I'd spoke about this horse during Irish Champions weekend a couple of weeks ago, Kenya for Aidan O'Brien. Won the Irish version of this race, pretty trounced the field, to be honest, really looked good, and that's why I fancied it when it ran in Irish Champions weekend a couple of weeks ago, when it took on group company, as I say, and finished second in that race. So by all means, it certainly looks I think the O'Brien team possibly felt this was a horse that maybe was going to be looking to be maybe a classic horse next year, but of this year, should I say. That's not obviously come true, but I still think it's a horse with a lot of talent, and is running off a decent mark in this race, and I think it can perform really well. The O'Brien team are starting to really come to the fore over the past few weeks, and I think Kenya in that race, where I would be putting money on the nose. At a bigger price in these races, you always like to have a horse to stick in there at a bigger price. I think Sabador for Ed Walker, Jamie Spencer takes a ride here. Ran really well, I felt, in a handicap last time out at Ascot, finishing a really close third there, and has looked as if it's coming into a nice bit of form, this horse, and I think it should run well at a bigger price. That's Sabador there in the Cambridgeshire. Right, looking elsewhere, Haydock, I'm going to look at another couple of sprint races. You know, I like my sprint races, and I'm going to look at two horses that I backed last week at Ayr. The first I'll look at is at Haydock in the 3:15, the 5 furlong sprint handicap. Now, Dakota Gold I'd fancied pretty much to the fore in the Silver Cup last Saturday. Finished, I think it was 6th in that race. Now, in this race, I think it's a furlong shorter, of course, a bit sharper this trip, but I think it has a hellier chance here. If I would like to see it come out and maybe take the race by, but you know, make a bold bid for it. I think it's a horse that can certainly race over a bit further, as is shown. I'm hoping it's not one of these horses that's just got into the trend of being nearly there, and just, as I've spoke plenty of times on this about horses that you follow off the edge of a cliff. But Dakota Gold, I'm always feeling sometimes off the back of these performances at Ayr, these horses can come on and bounce on from that, and I think Dakota Gold is certainly one of them. So I fancy that to run really well at Haydock in the 3:15. And over at Ripon in their 3:35, they have a 6 furlong handicap. there. Decent enough wee race. And Staxton was a horse that I mentioned in the Air Gold Cup last week. Things didn't go his way in that race, and I think he was quite prominent to the fore, but just maybe wasn't racing on the better side of the track. And I think this horse to me has talent, it really does, and I'm hoping that he can show that tomorrow at Ripon in the 3:35 there. Both of them, the Dakota Gold and Staxton, are pretty well fancied in the market, so probably worthwhile putting them on the nose in both those races. So that's a look at some tips for tomorrow's action. Decent enough Saturday, as I say, Newmarket's back on the Rolly Mile now. They've been racing there for a couple of days, and we're going to see that obviously a lot of these future Champions Day come up. We've got the Cesarevich. We've also obviously getting into October as of next week. We'll be looking forward to the action over at Longchamp, Paris de Longchamp, for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, and that fantastic card that they have there on the first Sunday of October. We'll look at that next week, in fact. And then further on from that, we obviously have our own Champions Day here in the UK at Ascot. And that's shaping up pretty well. Some of the horses that have been spoken about that will be targeting those big races there. So that whets the appetite without a doubt. So plenty of action to look forward to. As I say, we'll look at some French racing, of course, next week with the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe card and the Abbey and so on, and the Cadran. There's a lot of really cracking races to look forward to there, and we'll of course look at the action in the UK. But have yourselves a great weekend, folks. I hope you get some winners. It's been a little bit not the greatest tipster wise over the past couple of weeks, I admit. Let's hope fortunes turn this weekend. CopaLoadofRacing, folks.